Dr. Sage here, back continuing our lecture series on bone tissue and the skeletal system. In today's lecture, we're going to discuss bone structure. By the end of this video, you should be able to identify anatomical features of bone, define and list examples of bone markings, describe the histology of bone tissue, compare and contrast compact and spongy bone, identify the structures that compose compact and spongy bone, and describe how bones are nourished and innervated. The structure of a long bone allows for the best visualization of all the parts of a bone. The long bone has two parts, the diaphysis and epiphysis, as highlighted in yellow in this figure. The diaphysis is the tubular shaft that runs between the proximal and distal ends of the bone. The hollow region in the diaphysis is called the medullary cavity, which is filled with yellow marrow. The walls of the diaphysis are composed of dense and hard compact bone. The wider sections at each end of the bone is called the epiphysis, which is filled with spongy bone. Red marrow fills the spaces in the spongy bone. Each epiphysis meets the diaphysis at the metaphysis, the narrow area that contains the epiphyseal plate, which is a growth plate, a layer of hyaline, transparent cartilage in a growing bone. When the bone stops growing in early adulthood, approximately 18 to 21 years, the cartilage is replaced by osseous tissue and the epiphyseal plate becomes an epiphyseal line. The medullary cavity has a delicate membranous lining called the endosternum, where bone growth, repair, and remodeling occur. The outer surface of the bone is covered with a fibrous membrane called the periosternum. The periosternum contains blood vessels, nerves, and lymphatic vessels that nourish compact bone. Tendons and ligaments also attach the bones to the periosternum. The periosternum covers the entire outer surface except where the epiphysis meets other bones to form joints. In this region, the epiphysis are covered with articular cartilage, a thin layer of cartilage that reduces friction and acts as a shock absorber. Flat bones, like those of the cranium, consist of a layer of diploe, which is spongy bone, lined on either side by a layer of compact bone. The two layers of compact bone and the interior spongy bone work together to protect the internal organs. If the outer layer of a cranial bone fractures, the brain is still protected by the intact inner layer. There are three general classes of bone markings: articulations, projections, and holes. As the name implies, an articulation is where two bone surfaces come together. These surfaces tend to conform to one another, such as one being rounded and the other cupped, to facilitate the function of the articulation. A projection is an area of a bone that projects above the surface of the bone. These are the attachment points for tendons and ligaments. In general, their size and shape is an indication of the forces exerted through the attachment to the bone. An example would be how the Achilles tendon is going to attach to the bones of the foot. A hole is an opening or groove in the bone that allows blood vessels and nerves to enter the bone. As with other markings, their size and shape reflect the size of the vessels and nerves that penetrate the bone at these points. Bone contains a relatively small number of cells entrenched in a matrix of collagen fibers that provide a surface from inorganic salt crystals to adhere. These salt crystals form when calcium phosphate and calcium carbonate combine to create hydroxyapatite, which incorporates other inorganic salts like magnesium hydroxide, fluoride, and sulfate as it crystallizes and calcifies on the collagen fibers. The hydroxyapatite crystals give bones their hardness and strength, while the collagen fibers give them flexibility so they are not brittle. Although bone cells compose a small amount of the bone volume, they are crucial to the function of bones. Four types of cells are found within bone tissue: osteoblasts, osteocytes, osteogenic cells, and osteoclasts. The osteoblast is a bone cell responsible for forming new bone and is found in the growing portions of bone, including the periosternum and endosternum. Osteoblasts, which do not divide, synthesize and secrete collagen matrix and calcium salts. As the secreted matrix surrounding the osteoblast calcifies, the osteoblast becomes trapped within it. As a result, it changes in structure and becomes an osteocyte, the primary cell of mature bone and the most common type of bone cell. Each osteocyte is located in a space called the lacuna and is surrounded by bone tissue. Osteocytes maintain the mineral concentration of the matrix via the secretion of enzymes. Like osteoblasts, osteocytes lack mitotic activity. They can communicate with each other and receive nutrients via long cytoplasmic processes that extend through canaliculi, which are channels within the bone matrix. If osteoblasts and osteocytes are incapable of mitosis, then how are they replenished when old ones die? The answer lies in the properties of the third category of bone cells, the osteogenic cell. These osteogenic cells are undifferentiated with high mitotic activity, and they are the only bone cells that divide. Immature osteogenic cells are found in the deep layers of the periosternum and the marrow. They differentiate and develop into osteoblasts. The dynamic nature of bone means that new tissue is constantly formed and old, injured, or unnecessary bone is dissolved for repair or for calcium release. The cell responsible for bone reabsorption or breakdown is the osteoclast. They are found on the bone surfaces and are multinucleated and originate from monocytes and macrophages, two types of white blood cells, not from osteogenic cells. Osteoclasts are continually breaking down old bone, while osteoblasts are continually forming new bone. The ongoing balance between osteoblasts and osteoclasts is responsible for the constant but subtle reshaping of bone. The differences between compact and spongy bone are best explored via their histology. Most bones contain compact and spongy osseous tissue, but their distribution and concentration vary based upon the bone's overall function. Compact bone is so dense that it can withstand compressive forces, while spongy bone has open space and supports shifts in weight distribution. Compact bone is the denser, stronger of the two types of bone tissue. It can be found under the periosteum and in the diaphysis of long bones, where it provides support and protection. The microscopic structural unit of compact bone is an osteon, or Haversian system. Each osteon is composed of concentric rings of calcified matrix called lamellae. Running down the center of each osteon is the central canal, or Haversian canal, which contains blood vessels, nerves, and lymphatic vessels. These vessels and nerves branch off at right angles through a perforating canal, also known as Volkmann's canal, to extend to the periosteum and endosternum. The osteocytes are located within spaces called lacunae, found at the borders of adjacent lamellae. Canaliculi connect with the canaliculi of other lacunae and eventually with the central canal. This system allows nutrients to be transported to the osteocytes and waste to be removed from them. Like compact bone, spongy bone, also known as cancellous bone, contains osteocytes housed in lacunae, but they are not arranged in concentric circles. Instead, the lacunae and osteocytes are found in a lattice-like network of matrix spikes called trabeculae. The trabeculae may appear to be a random network, but each trabeculae forms along lines of stress to provide strength to the bone. The spaces of the trabeculated network provide balance to the dense and heavy compact bone by making bones lighter so that muscles can move them more freely. In addition, the spaces of some spongy bones contain red marrow, protected by the trabeculae, where hematopoiesis occurs. The spongy bone and the medullary cavity receive nourishment from arteries that pass through the compact bone. The arteries enter through the nutrient foramen, small openings in the diaphysis. The osteocytes in spongy bone are nourished by blood vessels of the periosteum that penetrate spongy bone and blood that circulates in the marrow cavities. As the blood passes through the marrow cavities, it is collected by veins, which then pass out of the bone through the foramina. In addition to the blood vessels, nerves follow the same paths into the bone, where they tend to concentrate in the more metabolically active regions of the bone. The nerves sense pain, and it appears the nerves also play roles in regulating blood supplies and in bone growth, hence the concentrations in metabolically active sites of the bone. This has been your overview of bone structure. In the next video, we'll continue our discussion on bone tissue and the skeletal system. Until next time, this has been Dr. Sage.